All right, hey, welcome back. This is Jason Walter with Realty One Group, and I want to talk about the past few days and how all of this changes in the marketplace is going to affect our real estate market. So, of course, last few days has been absolutely crazy. A lot has changed, especially with the stock market declining so much over the past week or so. So, the Federal Reserve obviously has stepped in and has reduced the federal funds rate. And so a lot of people are asking me, how is that going to affect mortgage rates? Am I going to be able to refinance at a lower rate? And so I want to talk about that in this video, as well as how all this is going to affect our real estate market in general. So whether or not you're worried about COVID-19 or the coronavirus, and putting all politics aside, let's talk about what we know so far, and then I'll give you my predictions about how I feel this is all going to affect the real estate market going forward. So obviously a lot of people are staying home. Companies are telling their employees, do not come in, work from home. Schools are closed. I read about half of all schools in the nation are closed right now. In Sacramento County, for example, all the schools are closed for at least a month. So we'll see if that's going to get extended or not. And that's obviously putting a strain on people's homes because they're working from home, but their kids are home as well. So that's going to be challenging to find the time to work as well as take care of your kids at the same time. And more information is coming out every day about banning the number of people that actually can be out in public. So they're limiting the number of people that can be in groups, for example. And that's why we're seeing the NBA and NHL, MLS, the college basketball, all these different organizations and sporting events are all being canceled. Let's talk about the stock market, for example, here. So a lot of uncertainty right now is creating a lot of volatility in the stock market. The stock market's down about 30% this year so far. And yesterday, the Dow went down 13% in one day. And that was the largest percentage increase that we've ever had since 1987. So a considerable drop. Looking at the stock market here today, because of the huge sell-off yesterday, obviously we're seeing a significantly increase in the stock market today, so that's a good sign. In response to all this volatility in the marketplace, the Federal Reserve took great action on Sunday in a surprise move to decrease the federal funds rate 1%. And that was the second decrease in the last 2 weeks. So in the last 2 weeks, they reduced that rate 1.5%. And so down to 0% basically now. So that doesn't mean that your mortgage rates are going to be 0%. So I'm getting a lot of the questions right now about this. And the truth is the federal funds rate does not have a direct tie or correlation with mortgage rates. So just because the federal funds rate has been reduced, it doesn't mean that your mortgage rate is going to be reduced if you're looking to do a refinance or a purchase. So let's talk briefly about what the federal funds rate is and what is affected by that 0% rate that was just reduced by. So the federal funds rate is the overnight or the short-term interest rate that banks charge other banks to lend them excess cash. And that's basically what the federal funds rate is. This rate affects credit card rates, car loan rates, and any loans that are tied to the prime interest rate. So it does not affect FHA, VA, or conventional loans, for example. All right, let's talk about my predictions. And let me preface this by saying I do not have a crystal ball. I certainly wish I did. But I can give you my best guess about what I anticipate will happen. But this is really speculation at this point. Time will tell about really how this is all going to affect our market. So let's first talk about inventory. So I really see one of two things happening. I'm leaning towards one of these outcomes. The first one would be that there may be a group of people out there that are scared that the real estate market's going to crash. They want to cash in on their equity. And I'm not saying the real estate market is going to crash, but I think there might be some people that may be fearful of this potentially with all the news we're hearing about locally here in Sacramento versus the world as well regarding this virus. So that may be one option if there's an influx of inventory, and right now inventory is really low, but if there's an influx of it, that's going to be a great opportunity for buyers because they're going to have more opportunity and more options out there. And then for sellers, it's going to create more competition. So it's gonna be really important if you get your house listed and there's an influx of inventory, make sure you price your house right. On the other hand, which is probably what I foresee is actually going to be happening, is there's probably going to be a tightening of inventory as people are staying home, especially with families. Their kids are at house. It's probably not a great time to be moving, but it depends on your situation, of course. But I really see that probably will be fewer listings that are going to be hitting the market. And if this happens, obviously there are going to be less options for buyers out there amidst a low inventory levels already here, especially in the Sacramento or greater Sacramento area. So if this happens, obviously it's gonna be more challenging to find the great house for you, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't stop looking. In addition, if you do find the right house and get in contract, interest rates are really low. So that's a great opportunity for buyers. Okay, so let's talk about mortgage rates. So we all know now that the federal funds rate does not have a direct correlation to mortgage rates. So just because the federal fund rate went down doesn't mean the mortgage rates are going to decrease as well. So if you're not familiar, the mortgage rates were near or actually at record lows about a week ago or so. And that's still in the news. However, interest rates went up. They shot up about 1% in a very short period of time. But what we're seeing now is a slight decrease in the rates right now. And so I think once this refinance boom has gone through its process, I think we'll see a lowering of the interest rates. So right now, I think interest rates are around 3.5 to 3.75. It's still very low rates, and I expect that the interest rates will probably decrease in the short term as more and more of this COVID-19 cases come about in the news. And just to give you some perspective, when my parents bought their house in Sacramento in the early 80s, their interest rate was 15%. So shouldn't be complaining if interest rates are just below 4%. In addition, I would expect the federal government to introduce a wider national stimulus plan to help support these families and individuals who are not able to work or may potentially get laid off as businesses are closing temporarily. And so obviously, there's some current relief efforts in the works right now from the federal government. I would expect that there's probably going to be more expansive protections and plans in place for the American people. And one of those things would be the eviction and foreclosure protections in place. Gavin Newsom in California here just announced that for Californians. Again, that's eviction and foreclosure protections in place. And then for our local utility companies, which is SMUD and PG&E here in greater Sacramento area, they already announced that they're not going to be shutting off power or gas to houses for people that are affected by this virus. Okay, let's talk about the effect on our global economy. And I would say, obviously, there's a ton of people that are canceling their travel plans. Cruise liners, airlines, hotels, Airbnbs are all going to be affected by this. My wife and I were supposed to travel to Toronto this week. We canceled our trip amid all this going on. And then on top of that, when we called Southwest Airlines, there was a 2-hour wait over the phone. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of people who are be canceling their travel plans, and that's going to have an effect on our global economy as well as locally as well. Now I imagine too, as people are working from home, productivity is actually going to be decreasing. I mean, how are we going to care for our kids and also work at home? So I think that people are going to have a challenge with that, and that's going to decrease productivity for our businesses. And for real estate agents, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out and how this is going to affect our business and how we do business, at least temporarily. So for example, maybe if you have a listing, are you going to be able to do an open house? I'm guessing maybe more people are going to be not doing open houses, so you might want to rely on video, for example, to market your listings to potential buyers. I should point out too that the real estate market in the greater Sacramento area doesn't seem to be affected by what's going on with the COVID-19 as of yet. It may affect how we do business potentially, but we're not seeing a ton of people backing out of deals, everyone listing their houses. It's definitely not chaos, not even close. And so we're not really seeing an effect on the real estate market yet, but time will tell, of course, too, right? So the next couple of months will be really telling about how this is going to be affecting our real estate market. But as the people that actually know me know that I'm obviously an optimist. I view life as glass is half full, not empty. And I know we'll get through this. This is a short-term setback. But yeah, we're going to get through this just fine. But just leave me a comment below, actually, what your thoughts on this. Do you think the real estate market's going to decline? Do you think it's going to stay the same? Do you think this is going to be a short-term setback and we're going to, fly off the handles again with the real estate market? Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So that's it for now. Stay safe and be well. Until next time.